Hi guys, how is it possible for people like Suella Braverman and Robert Jenrick to claim others loathe Britain when one of them campaigned to make the nation poorer and the other refused to process asylum claims, which added to the cost of placing people in hotels? How can Braverman attack others when she refused to apologise to a victim of the Holocaust, and Jenrick described asylum seekers as criminals breaking into the country, knowing full well how this statement would undermine cohesion in society? Well, if you don't sign up to their twisted view, you hate the country. Have a listen.
You should believe in our values, and if you don't, frankly, you should go somewhere else.
Suella Braverman was speaking with LBC last night, and she said,
there are communities where people are not integrating into British life. They're not signing up to British values. They actually, in some cases, actively loathe Britain. They think Britain is a bad country, a racist country. They think that they're being oppressed in Britain. They want to destroy Britain.
Can I ask you, Mr. Jenrick, do you think there are people who actively loathe Britain?
Yes.
Can you give me an example?
I think you've seen in some of the recent protests that we've had on the streets, people...
Okay. So, the protest he's, of course, talking about is the pro-Palestinian protests, or if you want to say, the anti-Israel protests. Now, how is a pro-Palestinian protest anti-British? How is an anti-Israel protest, if you wanted to call it that, anti-British? Isn't the right to protest enshrined in British values? Also in the law, but let's stick with values. Isn't it a part of British values to protesting, disagreeing with people, marching in the street and having your voice heard? Well, this guy actually disagrees with that. He wanted to ban these protests. He wanted to ban organisations that were involved in the protests. So who's representing British values? People who are expressing their right to protest, or a guy who says, no, you should not be allowed to protest, unless it's a protest I agree with. But it gets worse.
People who do not share the values that I believe this country should stand for.
Okay, what values? Because I think a British value, and maybe people in the comments can correct me, but I think a British value is welcoming people into your home, providing them with refuge, but of course making sure that they are legitimate, processing an asylum claim, and then if people have the right to stay, then they should stay. But this guy is against that as well. He has said these people coming in are breaking into the country. So by extension, these people are criminals, even though they haven't committed a crime. He can't tell you what crime they have committed. But just these people are criminals, even though they haven't committed a crime, and even though under UN conventions people are allowed to arrive in the country and make an asylum claim.
Or people who were valorising terrorists on the streets of London, who were
not the summer riots, and these are the pro-Palestinian demonstrations. Just to clarify.
For example.
Okay, so he doesn't have a problem with people attempting to burn down an asylum centre with people in it, but he does have a problem with a fringe element within a protest. So he believes that if there's a fringe element within a protest who were not invited to the protest, the whole thing should be shut down. Should the entire Conservative Party be banned because of people like Suella Braverman and Robert Jenrick? Now, maybe somebody can make the argument for that, but I don't think it's within British values to ban an entire political party because there are fringe elements within it. But he believes, well, if there are people who are supporting terrorism in a protest, we need to ban the whole thing. But if there are people who are attempting to burn down an asylum centre with people in it, well, these people are just angry.
For example, the people who were celebrating the fact that the Houthis had fired rockets at British-flagged vessels, that's completely outrageous. Those people don't believe in our country.
Yes, those people. Is that the entire protest? Was the entire protest, we're out to march in favour of the Houthis? No, it was a pro-Palestinian protest. In every protest, you're going to find fringe elements. You're going to find strange people, weirdos. But you don't ban the entire protest because of those small elements.
You've got British businesses, British sailors out on those ships, we shouldn't have people in our country who are behaving in that way. So I think Suella is absolutely right to call that out. We shouldn't have people like that in our country, because if you come to live in this country, you should believe in it. You should believe in our values. And if you don't, frankly, you should go somewhere else.
Okay, so in Robert Jenrick's view, British values are not allowing people to protest unless you agree with them, not condemning, it seems, people who want to burn people out of their homes or out of people attacking people on the street, as we saw during the riots, condemning an entire protest because of an element within it, and of course describing people who are rightly claiming asylum as criminals. Sorry, maybe I missed the memo. I don't understand what British values are. I'm being sarcastic, of course. This guy does not represent British values. He represents the opposite. And I think most people listening to what he has to say are disgusted. And rightly so.